I have played 31,714 games on this account. This is my main account. This is the one I've had, as you can see, since 2013. My highest average damage is 9,921, and that was in the Jagdpanzer E100. A few days ago, I went and played the S-Conk on Big Nuba. And then this happened. So welcome to Mannerheim Line. With me in Big Nuba. Well, no, I'm not in Big Nuba. That's a bit weird. I'm in the S-Conk on Big Nuba. If you don't know, Big Nuba was my first grind account. So when I first started the grind, I started on Big Nuba. And the first season was grinding up through to the 277. And then I think I did the S-Conk. I can't quite remember. If you are a diehard fan of the grind, then you know exactly which series of tanks I went through. But at some point, we went and got the S-Conk. Now, this is obviously me trying to free mark the tank, and I am using full gold and whatnot. We're not anywhere close to free marking it at this stage, but we are trying to see how high we can get the DPG, and also just playing for fun, because the S-Conk's fun, right? It's my favourite tank, favourite heavy tank, at least in the game. Maybe even my favourite tank overall. This tank is just so comfy to play, and it's forgiving enough that when you make a mistake you can sometimes get away with it, but when you do make a mistake and you get punished for it, usually it's not too hard. It has lots of great things going for it, and obviously this is going to bring up the elephant in the room, but yes, this is getting nerfed. After this game, maybe you think that it should get nerfed, so I don't know. I mean, maybe. But we'll have to see. We'll have to see what the nerfs bring. But as you can see, right now, we're just hold down. We're fighting the 279. He's not having a fun time, as you can tell. But from this kind of position, there's not a lot that they can really see. As you can see, just really the hull armor. The hull armor's, the upper hull is what they can see, and then the turret. There's no lower plate that they can see or anything like that. And as long as you get into this kind of position, you're fine. I am going to be speaking through this game and pointing out where I feel like I've made mistakes and whatnot. Because even though that, as you probably guessed, this is my highest damage game that I've gotten, I still make mistakes. And there are, you know, a few times where I think this could have been a bit dodgy. A bit like this. Yeah. I mean, luckily enough, we did see it, and we knew that it was going to happen, and we pulled back in time to not receive too much more. Otherwise, they probably would have just kept doing it. But from here, it's kind of awkward along this ridgeline, and maybe I should have gone around to the left-hand side to get some better shots, but overall, it doesn't really matter. If the 60TP went around and shot me, then it would have been a bit of a different issue, but also, if you're looking at the tanks and you realise that they all have the numbers above them, that's how far away each tank is. It was a new mod that got added into Aslan's, so it's completely legal. It was from WoT mods and within Aslan's mod pack. But I've been wanting this mod for a very long time, since I saw it on RU. RU actually implemented this into their game, into their base game, that just shows you where each person, or how far each person is. And it's incredibly useful if you're a light tank as well, because you can use that to then gauge if you'll get spotted or not. Especially if you're someone like IU Xin, who knows exactly how far away a tank can be with his view range and camo and all of that. So if you do play light tanks a lot, then it's really useful, but it's also just useful for knowing how far away you are in proxy and whatnot as well. Anyway, back to this game. We have been gifted a Type 5 Heavy. I don't know what he's doing. There's also something a little bit dodgy going on in this game. And I'm not exactly too sure what's going on, but if you have a little look over there, you have the platoon, well, our only platoon, which is all AFK. Now, judging by what this Type 5 Heavy is doing, maybe they're rigging or something for the Type 5. Either way, it doesn't end out too well for him. It makes no sense. I don't think they were rigging, honestly. I don't know what was going on with that platoon, because usually if people are rigging the game, they'll actually go into a position where the person could just kill them very, very easily, not just sit in spawn. So I'm not sure what exactly has gone on with that platoon, but they didn't really do much. So yeah, and plus it's not really 3 tanks of the same tier against, or the class against 3 tanks of the same class. But within this time that we've just been speaking, we've already racked up 5,140 damage, which is pretty decent. And it was at this point, while I was fighting the Type 5, I realised that this could be 10k. Because if you have a little look at the maximum amount, or the total team damage that's left, there's 12,000. Now, all I have to do is get just under half of that, and we're good for 10k. So I'm now starting to think about, okay, where do I need to go? Obviously, staying up here is not going to work. We need to go back down, and we need to try and deal with the 705A, or maybe even, my thought process at the time was that I might be able to get some shots on behind them. The only problem with that, in retrospect thinking about it, is there's a Gorilla 15 that has yet to be spotted. And I don't think I thought about this at the time. Because if that Gorilla 15 is up with the T62A, if both of them hit me, I'm dead. I am a one shot if the T62A hits me first and then the Gorilla hits me, and vice versa. So I can only really take 2 shots here from the Gorilla and the T62A. Especially if the 705 shoots me as well. But luckily the T62A has for some reason gone there and managed to get there without getting spotted, which is quite impressive, considering that our mouse was kind of watching that. But obviously artillery exists, which is lovely. There's nothing I love more than being stunned for the eternity of a battle by a Batchat RT. Especially if there's a Batchat RT in a 261. That's good. 705A tries to push me. We don't allow that. We make sure we get the tracking shot in. And once he fires, we only expose the hull. We could have actually been pretty bad. Sorry, we only exposed the turret. But we could have been pretty bad because he fired heat at us. And if you fire heat at the S-Conk's cupola, more than likely you're going to pen. Especially considering he was slightly above us. So it could have been very, very bad if that had happened. But we're now up to 7,400. I know that if I want to get 10k out of this game, I have to be a little bit more aggressive. I can't just afford to sit there and just wait. And I also know that I'm going to have to kill this T62A. Because if he just stays there forever, it's going to be a problem. And now I am nearly a one-shot for everyone. Nearly. If an artillery shell hits me again, then I'm going to be a one-shot. But the T62A is also a one-shot. Now, what I was doing here, I wasn't very focused. And at this point, I really wasn't focused. Because I thought that I was so tunnel visioned on this T62A that I don't realise there's a TVP that's just appeared. And I should be dead here. Like, I should 100% be dead there. Both of them have more than enough alpha to kill me right there. Again, slightly lucky. Yes, it was a heat round. It hit a gun. Although he would have had to have hit my cupola or got lucky and gone to the left or right or just below. So, fine. We now do the pro gamer maneuver of maneuvering around this, and it's pretty simple to actually get here. I know this is going to be changed next patch, but all you have to do is just make sure you hug this, like the water line, and then just wiggle. Enough wiggling and you'll get through there. It's not too difficult. All you need is decent enough terrain resistance and engine power, which the S-Conk has, and you'll get through there just fine. Most tanks can get through there, even like a T95 can get through there, so... It's more so, does it have consistent terrain resistance and engine power, rather than does it have an insane top speed? to actually maneuver through that. The power to weight is pretty important for that bit. But we're now on 8,700, and there's a TVP, the E50M, and the Grilla. There is what we can see, or at least what we last saw, was 5,600 damage. Now, we only need 1,300, and we've got 10k. And 10k is all that I really want, right? Because it's going to be the highest damage that I've ever done, and that is what I want. Even though that, yes, this is Big Noober. Technically, Big Noober has only played 1,500 games. So, I mean, if you add in my peasant account, I think that's closer to about 34, let's call it 35,000 games of World of Tanks. And I've only ever come close, really, once, where it's been possible to get 10k. I mean, it was possible to get 10k in the Jagdpan Z100 game that I played on my main account. But this sort of game is one where I know that if I play well enough, I can get 10k. It's not so much luck involved from this point. Yes, we got a little bit lucky with the TCDA and the TVP. But from this point on, it's not so much luck. It's more just my decision making and what I do next that will determine if I get 10k. So I know that I can't just sit here forever, because if I want the damage, I'm going to have to go forwards and just, you know, grow some balls and just go for it. Luckily for me, this mouse is mostly full health. And I think at the time, I was pretty happy to just let the mouse go and just let him be, you know, you can be the sacrificial lamb. The TVP is not going to clip you. Even if the TVP clips you and then the Grilla shoots you once, I think he's still okay. I think. I'm not sure. But the chances are the TVP won't put a full clip in. So we let the mouse go. We let him find it out. Obviously, the mouse moving forwards there, and we get spotted here. From this point, I think, okay, the chances are he's probably in the left-hand side here. If he was in the right, he would have just killed me, because he would have had a clean shot. And I also would have got spotted as I was pushing up to here, and so would the mouse, right? So from this point, I'm thinking, okay, he's clearly over this side of the map somewhere, probably in these bushes. I'm going down right, because there's no point me fighting the TVP. All the damage is with the Grilla and the E50M, because what's better to do? Go after one tank or two tanks? Obviously two tanks. And if you did just see, the Batchat Arty was firing, and he was somewhere over this side of the map as well. So we may even be able to shoot the Batchat Arty. Now we know the E50M was last spotted up in the A45 region, so we can just push up a little bit, just obviously being a bit careful. I'm still very cautious of the TVP, because if he was there for whatever reason he didn't shoot me, then I'm dead here as I cross. But now we push up to here. As you saw, the Batchat Arty is there. So we know that there's at least 3 tanks up here, unless the E50's moved all the way around, that we can kill. Put one into the Grilla. We're now up to 8,993. And where is Mr. E50M? Hello, E50M. He's done the disappearing act. One into the E50M. 9,378. Can we put the one more shot in? Very nice. 9,700 damage. And now we do a little bit of begging in chat. The Grilla 15 says almost 7k damage. And then I go and ask if I can kill the Arty for 10k. Me and this Grilla have done 17,000 damage between us. Why does Big Noober have a 10k, man? So after, what was it? Like 9 years, I finally got a 10k game. Albeit, it wasn't on my main account. But, it was in my favourite tank. And this brings up a point that I've been wanting to make. Even though that you may not feel that you're improving in the game sometimes, if you go back and look at where you were and then where you are now, and as long as you have a baseline of a statistic value that you can work from, you will realize that you have improved. For example, about a year ago, I was getting maybe 3k average damage on tier 10s. I'm now at 3.5 to 4k. You know, if I go below about 3.5 on a tier 10, I'm not that happy with myself. And over time, you're always going to improve as long as you realize what you did wrong and try to stop yourself from making that mistake. I didn't think that I would get a 10k, right? But we played pretty well towards the end game. And the problem for me is that the end game scenario is always pretty bad. Like, my end game plays are not good because most of the time the games are super, super fast and you don't normally get into them. You know, this type of scenario doesn't happen too often. And so this is something that I've been wanting to improve. There's been loads of times where I look back at games and I think, you know what? I could have got 10k or a lot more damage out of that if I just played the end game better. And at this point, I then have realized that I did play that well. Yes, we got lucky, but we played it well towards the end. I think with any 10k game, you need to have an element of luck. Whether it will be, you know, that there's an enemy team that's completely clueless, or there's a Type 5 heavy that that goes through the open and you manage to farm the majority of its hit points, right? Or you get some bounces on a TVP and a T62A. You know, you need to have an element of luck, I feel, in there. Most of the time, that's how 10Ks happen. There are some times where 10Ks happen because the player is just outright insane at the game, right? And does everything correctly. At least for me, we got a bit of luck. We played the end game correctly, or at least in my opinion we did, and we got rewarded for it. So yes, after 9 years and nearly 35,000 games, which I understand, 35,000 games is not that much compared to some of the other CCs and, you know, content creators, right? Most of them have played, you know, 60,000, double of what I've done, or even triple or quadruple the amount. So like some people have played like 120,000 games or 200,000 games, some of them. So I feel like at the same time, 10k in such little battles is a pretty big achievement for me anyway. Yeah, thank you very much for watching. I'll see you all in the next video.